Live with filial piety and respect. Wang Yangming believes that filial piety must be emphasized in order to achieve conscience. He failed to take care of his mother's early death, and Wang Yangming felt deeply hurt, and blamed himself for not seeing his grandmother on her deathbed. After his father's death, Wang Yangming also fell ill for many days. It is inevitable that there are many imperfections in one's life, the biggest of which may be, the son wants to support but the kiss does not wait. When one day we suddenly find that our parents are gray at the temples, we will miss countless opportunities to honor them at this time. Even when your parents are far away from you, only to repent, but there is no way out of filial piety, this will never be an irreparable regret. Wang Yangming advocates the unity of knowledge and practice, and emphasizes the unity of filial piety and filial piety. Just as someone knows filial piety, someone knows his younger brother, who must have practiced filial piety before he can say that he knows filial piety and knows his younger brother. He stressed that filial piety should act in a timely manner, and closely combine knowledge with practice. Filial piety can't stand waiting. If you don't have adoptive parents in life, everything will be empty after death. In the collection of Confucius, the son wants to raise but does not wait, tells such a truth. In the spring and autumn period, Confucius and his disciples went out to play, and suddenly they heard someone crying by the roadside, so they went to see what was going on. The crying man was Gao Yu. Gao Yu explained the reason for his crying. I was eager to learn when I was young. I had traveled all over the country to study, but by the time I came back, my parents had both passed away. As a son, I wasn't around when my parents needed to serve. Which was like, the tree wants to be quiet, but the wind doesn't stop. Now I want to serve my parents, but my parents are gone. Although their parents have passed away, their kindness is unforgettable. When they think of this, they feel sad, so they cry bitterly. Life is bound to experience a variety of painful emotional torture, but also exercise in the pain to become stronger, more and more able to bear the face of grief, while children want to support but do not wait, makes people feel unbearable pain in life. Many people always say that, when you have money and time, you must be filial to your parents. You can wait, but your parents can't. Inadvertently, parents are getting older. Spend more time with your parents. Parents don't ask for much. They just want you to spend more time with them. Otherwise, when your loved ones leave you, you recall in your mind how they used to take care of you, but you only work hard for yourself, neglecting to care for them, and leaving them lonely in the loneliness of watching you. Your regret and your pain have become the deepest imprint of your life, which cannot be erased even if the years are ruthless. It is not easy to have a child. It is even more difficult to raise a child, and the hard work is difficult for people who have never been parents to understand. In ancient times, when their parents died, children had to mourn for 3 years, which was a reward for their parents' patience when they were born. Filial piety to parents is what everyone should practice, whether in the past or in the present. Mencius said, "Only filial piety to your parents can relieve your worries." Min Ziqian's filial piety has been highly praised by later generations. In the 24 Filial Piety map, compiled by the Ming Dynasty, Min Ziqian ranked 3rd and became a sage in the cultural history of the Chinese nation. Min Ziqian is not only filial, but also tolerant and friendly. It is these qualities that make a family that is about to fall apart get back together, move the stepmother with his own actions, make the family harmonious, the mother is kind and filial, and live a life with no regrets. This is really a great blessing in life. Min Ming Lang, the word Qian, was born in the spring and autumn period. He was one of the famous disciples of Confucius. Min Ziqian was famous for his virtuous character in the countryside when he was young. His mother died early and his father felt sorry for him, so he remarried his stepmother to take care of Min Ziqian. A few years later, the stepmother gave birth to 2 sons, and the waiting for her son Qian gradually became indifferent. Min Ziqian was abused by his stepmother, wearing cotton-padded clothes made of reed flowers in winter and thick cotton-padded clothes worn by his younger brother. One day, my father came back and asked Ziqian to help pull the rickshaw out. It was cold and windy outside, and Ziqian was cold in clothes, but he endured it silently and said nothing to his father. Later, the rope frayed the cotton cloth on Ziqian's shoulder. When the father saw the reed flowers in the cotton cloth, he knew that his son had been abused by his stepmother, so he wanted to divorce his wife when he returned home. When Min Ziqian saw his stepmother and 2 little brothers crying bitterly, he knelt down and begged his father, "If the mother is there, only one child will suffer a little cold. If driven out of the mother, all 3 children will suffer from the cold." Ziqian's filial piety moved his stepmother to mend his past. From then on, the mother and son were filial piety and family joy. In modern times, people's pursuit of freedom has led to the gradual indifference of family values, and the gradual loss of the spirit of filial piety, which is not only a great loss of traditional culture, but also a major defect of personal moral cultivation. In the face of the new generation, we should inherit and carry forward the excellent parts of the traditional culture, such as filial piety to our parents and family values. Filial piety is a quality of life. Conscience is what everyone has in their hearts, and there is no need to ask for it outside. It is natural to know filial piety when you see your father, and compassion when you see your brother. When you see a child entering a well, you know compassion. Wang Yangming believes that filial piety is not only a kind of human instinct, but also the embodiment of his conscience, and a necessary quality for one's survival. In the study of the Analects of Confucius, the principle of governing the country and being a man comes into being when a gentleman devotes himself to the root and is fundamentally established. Therefore, filial piety to parents can be regarded as the root of benevolence. Mr. Qian Mu, a master of sinology, also believes that Taoism is the most important part of Confucius study. The so-called Tao, that is, humanity, is based on the heart, and the most distinct embodiment of this humanity is the heart of filial piety. Therefore, if we want to cultivate benevolence, we must first start with filial piety. There are many deeds of filial piety in ancient China. The famous 24 filial piety is a typical representative, in which the story of lying on ice and seeking carp is like this. Wang Xiang, a native of Lagyi in the Jin dynasty, lost his biological mother early, and his stepmother, Zhu, spoke ill of him in front of his father many times, making him lose his father's love. But Wang Xiang did not resent his stepmother because of this. On the contrary, he was very filial to his stepmother. When his stepmother fell ill, he was confused in plain clothes and waited on his stepmother day and night to eat live carp, but it was a cold winter month, frozen 3 feet, and it was so cold that he could not catch fish at all. But in order for his sick stepmother to eat live carp, Wang Xiang took off his clothes and lay on the ice, trying to use his body temperature to open the ice to catch fish. Suddenly the ice 3 feet thick melted by itself, and 2 carps jumped out from under the ice. Wang Xiang happily went home to make carp for his stepmother. After the stepmother ate, she recovered. This is the story of lying on the ice and asking for carp. Later, Wang Xiang lived in seclusion for more than 20 years and retired to his parents, before he was invited to go out to work as an official. From Wengxian County Magistrate to Big Sunung, Su Kong, Tai Wei, and was named Su Eiling Ho. In order to commemorate him, up to now, there is a lying ice mold on the river. The Confucianists believe that filial piety is the starting point of ethics. A person who values filial piety must be a loving and civilized person. Families that attach importance to filial piety have strong affection and strong relationship. The family is the foundation of society, so it can be seen that not attaching importance to filial piety will affect the stability and harmony of the whole society. As one celebrity pointed out, if filial piety is not valued, the survival system will become weak, and the civilized way of life will become rough. We can't abandon old people because they are useless. If children treat their parents in this way, it is tantamount to encouraging their children to treat them in the future. Once upon a time, there was a couple who gave birth to a fat son. They tried their best to bring up the son, so the child grew up day by day. The couple also had an old mother, who lived with them. Usually, the daughter-in-law always disliked her mother-in-law, and did not want to support her mother-in-law. But because her mother-in-law could help them with their work, the wife complained but let her mother-in-law eat and live with them. Year after year, as her grandson grows up, her mother-in-law gets older and older, her waist becomes bent because of years of hard work, and she can no longer do heavy work. At this time, the wife is more and more disagreeable to her mother-in-law. She's eager to drive her mother-in-law out of the house. So she always speaks ill of her mother-in-law in front of her husband. Unexpectedly, the husband promised his wife to drive her mother out of the house. One day after lunch, the couple sent their old mother to a ravine 30 miles away, throwing down a few cakes and leaving her to fend for herself. Unexpectedly, when they got home, they found their son sitting under a big tree at the entrance of the village. When the couple asked their son why he didn't go home, the son said, "I'm waiting for Grandma." Now you pull Grandma 30 miles away, and I'll pull you more than 80 miles later. After listening to their son's words, the couple immediately understood. They hurried back to the ravine and pulled their mother back. In addition, as the son said, if these people who do not know how to respect their parents come to society in the future, it will be the main factor of social unrest and instability. This is by no means alarmist, not appalling. As Wang Yangming said, knowledge is the spirit of reason. In terms of its domination, it is called the heart, and in terms of its endowment, it is called nature. Children love their relatives and respect their brothers, But this spirit is the only one. Only when conscience enters our hearts, we can love their relatives and respect their brothers. This is an instinctive act and a requirement of the heart. Filial piety is a survival strategy. Whether children can achieve filial piety in the future, the key lies in parents' words and deeds. So at the beginning of your child's birth, you have to understand that while caring and loving your child meticulously, you must teach your child to be filial to you. If you are not aware of this, you will make your own bitter fruit in the future.